When we talk about the greatest of all time in MMA, these are the legends who redefined violence. Warriors who dominated generations, shattered records, and became icons in and out of the octagon. This is a definitive list of the top 15 greatest MMA fighters of all time. Now, in order to be 100% objective, pretty much came down to three categories. All right, that's the championship reign, the fight performance, and fight resume. I mean, these are the three things that we compare for the greats, right? And the reason I put championship reign in here is the top 15 are all champions, right? I mean, counting anyone who hasn't been a champion yet is pretty much just seeing their potential, and there are some fighters who are in that category, but objectively speaking, it came down to champions. You can argue between categories on which one you value more, but I think it's fair to say these are the top three categories when comparing great fighters. Before we get into the breakdown of these fighters, if you like the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like the video. Entering in number 15,
Amanda, the Lioness Nunes.
I mean, I don't think this is a surprise. Honestly speaking, I can see a case where she's ranked higher on this list, but the thing is, when we compare the quality of opponents and fighters in WMMA to MMA, I mean, the competition is just not comparable. I mean, she's a 2-division champ in WMMA, and she dominated the best in both divisions. She came in, destroyed Ronda Rousey when she was at the top of the world, destroyed Cyborg when she was at the top of the world. She's considered as the greatest female fighter ever, and she beat several generations between both divisions. Now, of course, one of those divisions is contested as, okay, it's not a real thing, but she achieved it, right? And the thing about Amanda Nunes is not just, you know, what she did and the people she beat, it's the way she beat them. Like, she showed how much she was above these fighters. She's levels above all her opponents. Now, she did have that one loss against Juliana Pena, but in the second fight she literally corrected the mistake. But yeah, that's why Amanda Nunes deserves this spot. I mean, she's the most accomplished female fighter, and she's the GOAT, man. She's the GOAT in WMMA, so that's where she falls on this list. Next on the list, no other than
Randy the Natural Couture.
If you started watching MMA or UFC around like 2019, 2020, I would understand why you've never heard of this guy, why you don't know this guy. That's because he's pretty much like literally erased from the history of UFC. Dana White's orders. He had a bad falling out. I think he's one of the first fighters to bring up fighter pay and to stand up to the, you know, the system pretty much. So the UFC staff is literally not allowed to mention this man's name, but this is one of the greatest fighters in MMA in the UFC. He's a UFC pioneer, one of the first ever 2-division champion. He was a light heavyweight champion and a heavyweight champion, and the oldest fighter to become champion. I mean, these are, when you combine these stats, bruh, it's hard to beat. Now, another thing about Randy Couture is the type of fighters he beats. He beat Chuck Liddell to Vitor Belfort, Mark Coleman. This is where powerhouses in his time, and he went back and forth between both divisions. He was able to capture championship gold twice, which is ridiculous. Had a total of 6 title defenses, which is a big record between light heavyweight and heavyweight. So it's undeniable that Randy Couture is someone that has to be mentioned. When you look at a lot of people's lists, they really just erase this guy. They don't talk about him. I mean, the disrespect is amazing, but then again, it makes sense because that's what the UFC pretty much wanted when he fell out with them. They didn't want this guy to be mentioned. It's almost like he doesn't exist, but trust me, it's the objective to bring him to light and pay him his respects. Next on the list, we got no other than Stipe Miocic. Till this date is the most accomplished heavyweight. He has the longest heavyweight reign, and became a champion twice. I mean, that's crazy in heavyweight. Now, when you say, okay, he had the longest heavyweight reign, you might think of some big number, but it's just 3 times. But that's a big accomplishment in heavyweight. Most champions were only able to have 1 title defense. Some champions didn't even get to defend their belt, so definitely a big stats right there. That's why Stipe Miocic is still reared as the greatest heavyweight of all time, and I think he still deserves that title until someone breaks that streak. Another thing that you need to pay attention with Stipe Miocic is the fact that he became a champion twice. That's something that just doesn't happen a lot. It's very rare. I can count in one hand how many champions lost their belt and were able to gain it back. So of course, that's why Stipe Miocic comes in as number 13 on this list. Next person on the list, we got no other than
Jose Aldo Jr.
Jose Aldo, man, ruled the featherweight division for a decade. One of the longest win streaks, title defenses of all time. He was ranked in several generations. Even when Jose Aldo lost his belt and he wasn't even a champion, he was still ranked as a top 10 fighter between featherweight and bantamweight. So he never stopped being an elite fighter in 2 divisions. After his run in the featherweight division, he went to the bantamweight division and was still one of the top guys until he retired. All right, now of course, like most fighters, when they overstay their welcome in the sport, they have a long losing streak and things like that. But it was actually different for Jose Aldo. He didn't have like a long losing streak. Of course, he lost a lot, but it was inconsistent. He still beat a lot of upcoming guys, beat a lot of prospects, beat guys that were in new generations. I think that makes sense on why he will be number 12 on this list. Next fighter coming into number 11.
The machine, Wallace Wallace.
It's time to start paying respect. Still currently the bantamweight champion, literally the most dominant bantamweight champ of all time, and it's not even close. I mean, this guy is on an undefeated dominant 10-fight win streak. It's probably gonna be way longer than that. I mean, this guy has beat about 4 champions. Jose Aldo, Henry Cejudo, O'Malley, Piotr Jan, and all these fights were absolutely one-sided, being on a run that we've never seen before. The Machine, which is his nickname, fits him because we can talk about the skill set of most fighters. Hey, they're just dominant strikers, they're dominant wrestlers, this and that. Even though his base is wrestling, this is the first fighter of all time to show us how to beat other fighters by cardio. And he's dominant with it. He literally doesn't get tired when he's fighting. And I know we're not comparing skill sets, but it's something that has to be mentioned, right? We've never seen it. He's created a whole category of how to beat a fighter. And right now, his win streak is just, it's impressive. It's just impressive. His only losses in the UFC are his first 2 fights. And after that, this man has been in one-sided fights. And that's why he's number 11 on this list. Next on the list, coming in number 10.
Alexander, the Great Volkanovski.
2-time featherweight champ, something we've never seen before, especially in the lower weight classes. And it's not even like, oh yeah, he won the belt 2 times. It's the fact that he lost his belt to Ilia Topuria, took some time off, came back and defeated a blazing crazy ass prospect, Diego Lopez, who everybody was picking to beat him. He was the underdog in that fight and it made sense. But man, he dominated that fight and beat the hell out of Diego Lopez to become a champion again. He had a 22-fight win streak, and in that win streak, it was dominant. Most of Volkanovski's fights are dominant, right? I think the only war I can really think of was his fight with Islam Makhachev, and that was him moving in lightweight, right? In featherweight, this man was levels above everybody, of course, until Ilia Topuria came by. He beat the best in the featherweight division. He reached a point where it was time to start lapping the people in featherweight, and which is part of the reasons why he tried to get a belt at lightweight but didn't succeed. But still, he beat the best in his time. And another thing I have to give him credit is the fact that he was the most active champ in featherweight, arguably the most active fighter in featherweight. I mean, his activity, in my opinion, is what led to his downfall, but it's something you have to pay massive respect to. Next fighter on the list, no other than
Daniel DC Cormier.
double champ, Olympian, beat Stipe Miocic in his prime, and only lost to Jones and Stipe. I mean, Daniel Cormier is one of the most dominant fighters in light heavyweight. The fact that he only lost to the greatest heavyweight, right? And then arguably the greatest fighter in so many people's lists. We'll find out who the greatest is in this video though. But bruh, it's impressive. It's impressive. Now, another thing you gotta give Cormier credit is pay real attention to his fight against Stipe, because when Stipe lost the heavyweight belt and won it again, it was against Daniel Cormier, right? And that was when Stipe was at his prime. I mean, the fact that he had a dominant run until he ran into these two guys is just, what can I say about it? Again, an Olympic champion and a 2-division champion. Not just 2 division, consecutively. He was a champion in light heavyweight and heavyweight at the same time. There's only a handful of fighters who has achieved that. Next on the list, of course, to me, in my opinion, I think it's obvious. The biggest thing any fighter can achieve is becoming a 2-division champ. There is really nothing that's above that, aside from becoming 3-division champ, which nobody has done. And there is a whole talk about how Ilia Topuria might actually be the first fighter to do that, right? I mean, this guy is on a 17 undefeated record. Crazy. 17 fight win streak, undefeated. Most of his fights are one-sided, has the most well-rounded resume in MMA history, all submissions before he joined the UFC, and all but 1 knockouts when he's in the UFC. This man KO'd the best of the best, knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and Charles Oliveira back to back to back. Now, there are reasons and different categories that can make you pick his wins against those fighters, but this man knocked them out 3 times in a row. It's crazy. It's not a fluke. That's not a fluke. It's not an excuse, right? It's legit. And the fact that most of his fights are one-sided, his resume is good, but the performance is amazing. One-sided wins back and forth. You have to give it to Ilia Topuria, and that's why he's top 10, definitely. Number 8 on this list. And if you're in this part of the video, go ahead and hit that like button, all right? I really appreciate it. Coming into number 7. One of the longest UFC title defense of all time. 11 UFC title defense. People are still trying to reach that record, right? Not to talk about breaking it. It's probably unbreakable, honestly speaking, because it's just unreal, right? Now, another thing a lot of people don't give DJ credit for is the fact that this man was a champion in 2 fight organizations, the UFC and 1 championship. And you can downplay 1 if you want or anything like that, or say, of course, the UFC is levels above 1 championship. But tell me one fighter who's been able to be UFC champion, left the UFC, went somewhere else and became champion there. Yeah, I'll wait. The only person who's done it is Demetrius Johnson. And this man had an absolute dominant reign. I mean, he was just different. Very, very underrated in his time. The UFC did not capitalize in this man. In my opinion, the fact that they traded him for Ben Askren, it's just, I will never understand that decision. But yeah, you got to give it to Demetrius Johnson, man. People can say, oh, he beat a lot of people that were cans, they weren't that great, this and that. 11 fight title defense, bruh, what? There's no way you can have an 11 fight title defense and you didn't beat the best in your division. It's not his fault that he was just levels above and made them look like amateurs. There's no fluke about defending your belt 11 times. Next on the list,
Khabib, the Eagle Nurmagomedov.
say what you want about Khabib, he has the best record in MMA history, at least right now. It's not just the fact that he's 29-0 and retired that way. It's the fact that he was undefeated and untouched. I don't even know if we ever saw this man bleed, right? His career is literally a fantasy dream for most fighters. Like, any fighter would pay any amount in this world or sacrifice one finger in their hand in order to have an MMA career where they're not touched, where they don't bleed, where they don't get hurt and all that stuff. But it's not real, right? It's not real. It's unrealistic. But Khabib did it untouched. I think he only lost one round in his whole career. So whether or not he fought cans, right? I don't believe he fought 20 cans or 29 cans or however people want to downplay his record. It's freaking impressive, all right? The most impressive win streak by far. And he's the pioneer of this whole Dagestani wrestling dominant performance that we're seeing now. Khabib was the first to put it in the front row of the sport, okay? So, incredible achievement. Again, best record. Nobody's record, at least when it comes to the numbers, is touching Khabib's. And nobody's performance is touching Khabib's. And that's why he has to fall into number 6. Next fighter on the list,
the last Emperor, Fatal Emelianenko.
Now this man was the absolute king of pride. Now you can call this an old school take, blah blah blah. Again, if you just started watching UFC in like maybe the last 10 years, I would understand why you wouldn't give this man his flowers. But there's no way you've not heard his name. This man has a record of 40 wins and 7 losses. That is ridiculous. The man fought 47 times and won 40 times. He beat all the legends at his time in Pride, which was, you know, the first prominent MMA promotion. Pride back in the days. Very fun promotion, right? The most feared fighter, at least in his time. He beat all the legends back then, like all of them. And he didn't just beat them, you know, had wars here and there. He destroyed these guys, right? At the top of their career, when they were looking the best, Fatal came here and destroyed these guys. One of the best strikers in heavyweight of all time. But yeah, like I said, definitely falls into that old school category, but he's definitely the top 5 best fighters on this list. And now we finally come into the Mount Rushmore of this list, the top 4. These are the fighters who you can exchange their positions at any time for the most part, right? Especially the top 2, but let's get into it. Coming in at number 4,
Anderson the Spider Silva.
Now it's easy to discount Anderson Silva and downplay this man's achievement because of the end of his career, right? Again, another great fighter who overstayed their welcome and then had this losing streak way out of his prime, but still putting up some type of competition against the younger generation at the time. But this man, till this date, has the longest win streak of all time in the UFC. 16 fight win streak. Right now, nobody's touching that. 10 title fight defense, right? Just one short from Demetrius Johnson. But man, when you combine his win streak with his title defense, bruh, it's undeniable. Absolutely the greatest middleweight fighter of all time. Izzy came close at some point, but in hindsight, like, bruh, you can't compare their title reigns and the length. DDP is on the cusp of trying as well, but that's gonna be a hard ask. Anderson Silva, still the greatest middleweight fighter of all time, has an amazing record, had a dominant reign for the most part. He has to be on this list. Next, coming into the 3rd greatest fighter of all time,
Islam Makhachev.
15 fight win streak, just one short of matching Anderson Silva's record, which is going to be crazy if he succeeds, especially with the fact that he's going to be fighting JDM at welterweight, going to possibly be a 2-division champion at the same time having the longest fight win streak in the UFC. Amazing. Another thing about Islam Makhachev is the fact that he's beat the best in their prime. He beat Volkanovski when Volkanovski was the #1 pound-for-pound fighter. He beat Charles Oliveira when Charles Oliveira was the most dominant, entertaining lightweight champion. These are guys that were on top and he destroyed them. The way he fought everybody else in his resume, it's like they were not even supposed to be in that octagon with him, right? It's like a coach beating someone who's entering the gym for the first time. That's the way Islam Makhachev performs. And then when he fights legends like Dustin Poirier, bro, they don't look like legends, right? They look like they're still rookies in the sport. The way he performs is absolutely dominant. Now, of course, unlike Khabib, he's had wars here and there, had a close fight with Volkanovski, but he clearly won that fight. But aside from that, this man has had absolute dominant wins. And Islam Makhachev is one of those fighters where you can count how many great fighters he's beat, right? But it's so clear he didn't need to beat all the GOATs to be where he is. His skill set says it all. It's unquestionable. This man is on the cusp of trying to be a 2-division champion, and then if he does that, bruh, he's arguably the GOAT. Next on the list, we got now, if you're an MMA fan, of course you know who Jon Jones is. The GOAT in a lot of people's list, and he was at some points in my list, but I'm not gonna lie, that the way he handled his heavyweight career was just a shame. It's, in my opinion, a stain to his legacy. Clearly ducking the interim champion and then retiring randomly, clearly not wanting to face competition. He ducked Francis Ngannou, who was a dangerous fighter at the time, then came back when Francis left, and then didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall. You know, it was just bad. So had to bring him to #2. But Jon Jones is still the youngest fighter to become champ ever. He dominated all the legends in his weight class, the light heavyweight division. Bruh, his title run was just amazing, untouchable. His resume at light heavyweight is undeniable. All right, I can understand now after Jon Jones did what he did at heavyweight, it's easy for people to discount his light heavyweight run and want to pick holes here and there, but come on, man, you got to be objective. The man's run and his record is amazing. Undefeated. Of course, he had that one loss against Dominic Reyes, which he clearly lost, but hey, the record says undefeated. 2-division champion. Okay, say what you want. Yes, he ducked Francis Ngannou. Yes, he ducked Tom Aspinall, but the man came after a 3-year layoff and beat, at the time, one of the most dynamic heavyweights, Cyril Gane. Easily destroyed him, right? Gotta pay him his respect. Of course, the #1 greatest fighter of all time is no other than
Rush St-Pierre!
GSP is the definition of a champion inside and outside the octagon. And you know how I talked about how Jon Jones didn't handle his heavyweight career well, ducking competition, all that stuff. GSP did not do that. 2-division champion after having a dominant run in welterweight, took some time off, came back and beat the champion at the time at middleweight, Michael Bisping. That was something we've not seen before, right? He beat at least 2 generations of fighters. This man was a champion for several generations and still beating these guys, even though the fighters he was fighting were evolving, they were better, the competition was getting better, right? They were getting more well-rounded. It's like this man just had a cheat code for everything. Not only did he beat 2 generations, he dominated both eras, and then he beat the best of the best at his time. And one thing a lot of people tend to do nowadays is downplay fighters' resume. It's like these guys were beating the best at their time. Just because they made it look easy doesn't downplay how much of an achievement it was, especially at the time. You got to look at things in hindsight, right? It's crazy to like compare the past to the present. But with that being said, he beat both the past and the present. So GSP, man, and outside the octagon, true champion, a true gentleman, literally a role model, unlike Jon Jones. And yes, these things do matter when we're talking about the greatest in a sport, right? And another thing I didn't even mention about Jon Jones is the fact that this man has been caught cheating on PEDs so many times, right? This is not something that happens in any other sport. In any other sport, if someone is caught cheating on PEDs, they don't even talk about that person anymore, not to talk about having them in the GOAT list. But whatever. GSP, absolutely the best fighter in mixed martial arts. Let me know what you think, man. Let me know who you think I should have put in this list. But don't just tell me, oh, I can't believe you had this in this list. I can't believe you didn't have this guy in this list. Bruh, let me know who I should switch out with who, right? This was the definitive top 15 greatest fighters of all time. Let me know who your top 5 fighters are in the comments. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like this video if you like this video, and subscribe to the channel if you're new.